Hi, everyone. We're going to give everybody another minute to get logged on, and then we'll get started. About 30 seconds, and then we'll get started. Okay, can you guys like wave at me? Okay, Travis can wave at me if you can hear me. Okay, now I can't see Travis. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Cool. Thank you. That helps a lot because when you're on this end of it, you can't tell.
Yep, I know.
So hi, my name is Bethany Narboguest. I work at Orange County Social Services as a system analyst, and I volunteered to be a host for this particular roundtable. This is for the future technologies for AI, chatbots, biometrics for the passwording, and anything else that happens to come up. This is a true roundtable. I'm just here to kind of make sure the meeting rolls. There's not another set of group of people who are here to actually really guide this conversation, okay? It is being recorded, so just keep that in mind. We do have two sponsors today, so I'm gonna introduce one of them now and one at the end. Our first sponsor is Cohesity. They're a platinum sponsor. And the blurb that I have for them is Insights Cloud and Data Center Transformation is a complete IT services and solution provider that helps organizations transform technology, operations, and service delivery to meet challenges and future-proof the business. As a client-focused integrator, we're free to recommend the most appropriate solutions across the cloud, IT transformation, next-generation technology, and security. So, as I mentioned, this isn't a roundtable in the same semblance of there's a group of people who are on a panel that are talking. This is actually all of you guys. So what we're looking to do is hear any of you that are actually already doing any of those things, AI bots, biometrics, what your experience has been. Those of you who are interested in like sort of hopping onto it, what questions did you have? Okay, and I know these tend to be extremely quiet sessions. So, you know, if we start lagging, I've got some questions that we can throw out there, okay? Oh, and by the way, you can unmute yourself when you're ready, if you want to talk. And this is the moment of truth, that nobody's willing to say the first words. All right. Anybody here who actually is running an AI, a bot, or, I mean, most of you who might be, okay. Can you tell us what your experience has been? Tell us what you've actually running right now.
Yeah, so if any of you guys may have taken the class before at the last 2 or 3 NCLGISA, maybe even 4, I taught a class on writing a chatbot. I talked about writing it through Amazon Lex, as well as writing it using your own code. But yeah, we wrote our own in-house, and so now our citizens can text a phone number through SMS or on our website. But yeah, we wrote a bot that answers thousands of questions, different questions, and we're getting some use on it. We found that our employees have using it a lot more than the public, because I was able to integrate some cool stuff so employees can unlock their accounts, employees can get their salary, they can get how much vacation time and sick time they have left. There's a few really cool custom things. We get a lot of employees using it. As an IT, we use it quite a bit. I've built in some pretty cool stuff, but yeah, we built one in-house and we're pretty happy with it.
What did you use for security for it? because you just mentioned some really awesome things that I'm not 100% sure I would be comfortable, texting something into a bot.
So you can unlock an account, but only if you're, only if you're from IT who recognize your phone number. Now, SMS can be hacked. It is rare that would happen, but there's, I have some things built in where if somebody starts unlocking an account repeatedly, I'll see that. But you can't reset a password through it. There's not a secure connection to our domain controller. So you can unlock an account, and I can read data. So that's where that security came in. The rest of it is, salary and stuff like that is public record. So if somebody happens to hack and can get somebody's salary, it's no different than they would just call the city up and say, hey, tell me their salary. So yeah, we're really not doing anything that's needs too much more security. But that's on purpose. We're not putting stuff in there because there's stuff I want to put in there and make it do. And my security guy's going, well, no, we're not going to do that. So yeah, it's a little bit of give and take.
What platform did you build under?
It's all PHP with MySQL for the background. I've also integrated it with Amazon Poly, who synthesizes voice, and we use it to send out phone calls. When hurricanes coming in, we use it to send out 9,000 phone calls to all of our trash customers with a recorded message saying, hey, trash services are going to be interrupted. And then if they were to, on their phone, hit that button that says busy or in a meeting or something, it will then send them a text back to say, the AI involved says, oh, I just got a text message from somebody that says, I'm on the phone, or who is this? And then it'll look up to see if we had just recently called them. And if we had recently called them, it'll take that message and then send it to them as a text. So that AI is actually working really cool. We've had hundreds of people respond with that in a meeting, on a call, who is this? And it'll automatically send them a text message of the voice message that they didn't bother listening to. So some AI doing that.
Anybody else have any questions? I have a whole list, that's why.
You said that your internal people were using it more than your external people. How much of the external people have found it useful?
So it's really a marketing thing right now. We haven't done a good job of getting it out there. But a lot of the questions that are getting answered that are working are about, how do I get in touch with this department? Who's my council member for this district? And probably the most popular one we get is, when's my trash day? And then it'll prompt you for an address, which hits a SQL database, which comes back with a trash day. So districts, council members, trash is real popular. We have a way, we're sort of using it for 311. It's not used very frequently right now, but you can say, I found a pothole, or there's a tree down, and then it'll go through a little back and forth, and then it sends a message. It integrates with CityWorks to create their service request for our maintenance department to get right on it. So that's what we're doing.
And is that all over text, or is that tied into your website at all?
100, absolutely both the same. You can go to any of our websites, a little chat bot in the corner, or you can text it over SMS. It's all connected. It's all the same thing.
How many systems are you integrated with right now?
So I take stuff and I send it into CityWorks. I integrate with our domain controller, I guess, in a way you can say, because it's PHP. I'm on the web server communicating with the domain controller. Amazon Lex to do, no, I'm sorry. I'm not using Lex. I'm using Amazon Poly to do the voice synthesizing. And then I'm using both SignalWire and Twilio to actually handle all my text messages.
How many people have been involved on this project?
Just me. I sit in a corner and write code. I meet with the different people and departments to get what are the most common questions your department gets? So I write down all those, and we program in the answers. So I do a lot of that. And then, we integrated with our downtown database. So you can ask it, where can I get a beer? Where can I go to dinner? And it'll come back with a random place listed downtown. I've had, obviously meetings with all the departments for what should go in it, but the actual building it, 100%, it's just been me. I do all the PHP, JavaScript, SQL integrations.
What city or county are you with?
The city of Goldsboro. Oh, and look at that. I forgot to change my name. I'm sorry. City of Goldsboro.
So I'm going to ask kind of an off the wall question is what style or conversationalist is your actual bot? Because like if I go to Verizon, it has a different feel than like CDWG does. What's the personality that you have out on this? Or is it just, I ask a question, I get a response? Is there any personality programming in it?
There is. Yeah, and I don't know how to define it, but yeah, so it's a very casual conversation. It's not using formality. It's using a few abbreviations, and then it knows a bunch of jokes. It knows a whole bunch of funny quotes. So if you were to ask it, if you were to say you're so dumb or you're an idiot or you don't, it'll come back with something witty. So yeah, I did build a lot of that conversational stuff into it, and it's kind of neat. So yeah, mine's very casual.
All right, guys, any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to keep running through the ones I've got.
Yeah, I have another one. Obviously, for each government, our coding would be a little bit different because of the internal systems we use, but would you be open to sharing your code?
Sort of. So I'm not teaching a class on it this time, which maybe I should. I taught it, I think 3 or 4 times in a row. And so I've stopped, but I do have some of the code that I can share that basically it gives you the skeleton of it. It's, here's how you receive the answer, their question from from Twilio, put it through one gigantic if statement, which then you can build whatever you want in, and then how to give the answer back. So I show you how to do the skeleton of getting the answer, processing it, sending it back. And then of course it's up to you to take that if statement and build in 1,000 integrations and stuff. So now the whole code and stuff, no, I mean, I don't have that in a way that I could really share. And I built a interface to handle all that and to add questions in bulk and do some neat stuff. But so yes and no, I can absolutely help you get down that path.
Okay.
If you want to go with Amazon Lex, I can help you do that too. And during the training, I can show you how to integrate it with Twilio or SignalWire.
I'll send you a private message so we can discuss that a little bit further.
Yeah, it'd be great.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to know from beginning to end, how long is this project taking you to go from magic in your head to where you are now?
Why are all the questions for me? Aren't there supposed to be other people on here doing AI stuff? Come on, guys.
Told you I had a list, so.
My project, I think, took just under a year, 10 months to go from mental conception to, within a first month or two, I had it built where you can have a conversation back and forth, but didn't have much of a brain. I don't know, about 6 or 8 months, it had a brain. And after about a year, it started really rocking and rolling.
So I know Darren has one. Does anybody else have one in the works? Anybody thinking about having one? Or did you guys only come for biometrics?
Yeah, I'm curious, is anybody using Twilio or any other third-party chatbot software and are able to integrate it into anything that you're using? That's a question I've got for people.
I'm just starting to think about implementing stuff like this, so I don't really have much of a ground to go on at the moment.
We've had a demo with 2 different vendors to actually, we're looking to go to ServiceNow, something that'll integrate with ServiceNow. But really, we would do none of the work. They would do all of the work. But it's interesting to hear that we do have programmers on site that, could probably take a look at what you've done and customize it to fit our environment.
Yeah, that's what I'm really curious to see. If you have somebody else, if you go with a third party, whoever it is, how do they integrate with your stuff? That's what I'm really curious. And that's part of the reason why I haven't gone out anywhere else, because I can't figure out how to connect it to our CityWorks or connect it to our domain controller, just to get user information, which is what we want to do.
I mean, I would imagine just from other things, there'd have to be some APIs type integrations that would have to happen, but all that's gonna be probably custom to each vendor, so.
Yeah, and that's like a huge roadblock for people to start,
Yeah.
because then, yeah, you don't know if it's going to work. And I've heard, and CityWorks, to be honest, was a pain in the integration. It was really hard to do, and I got it, but it's a pain. I haven't tried Energov. We use Energov, and I haven't tried integration to that yet, but that might actually really be useful in the future.
Yeah, we run Tyler Munis, so I would not be expecting that to be easy at all, so.
And so, what I did, and this is the advantage of having a programmer in house, is like, for instance, we use Banner, which I'm not even sure the umbrella company for that, Illusion maybe. And I don't have an integration to Banner. All I do is I have a SQL script that runs on the Banner server that exports all the fields I want, sends it to my web server as a CSV. My web server pulls it in, parses it, puts it into its own SQL database, scrubbing any sort of social security number, or it doesn't even get social security numbers, and it just gets username, whatever. And then when my users text it what their salary is, it gets it from that, which is live up to, I run it, it's just an automated task, runs every 15 minutes. So I've actually done a couple of times doing that, right? Is take the data, export it, my web server imports it at regular intervals. So it's not really an integration with Banner, but it is. Whereas CityWorks is an integration. I actually use the API and send it right in.
Yeah, well, that's how we do other stuff with Munis right now, is just get flat files and
parse them,
rework them. Yeah.
Yep. And so I've automated that process, so it's pretty neat now.
So Tiffany posted a comment of the fact that Munis allows her to have direct SQL read-only connection, and that Intergov only allows her a nightly backup.
Wow.
So perspective, that might be helpful for some of you.
Yeah. See, if I wanted to go into well, I don't know.
Tiffany, where are you located at? You want to chat it or pop on real quick?
Onslow County.
Here you go, guys. So working backwards, who are the two vendors? And it's, let's see, Mr. White. Who are the two vendors that you guys are entertaining or looking at right now?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. I can't remember. I know our CIO read something about one of them in a newspaper and was like, we should do this. But yeah. But it was of course, much more involved and lots of money involved as well. And so conversation was probably about 2 months old, and a lot of work have gone on in between then and now. So I'm not going to remember who the vendors are without looking back at some emails. But I got to say, the one of them really had a very nice advanced product. And what they do, they take your tickets and they look at your tickets to see the trends, to start developing that AI, that chatbot to see what kind of tickets come in. So it didn't only respond to text or on a website, but if someone put in a ticket, it'll even work the ticket through, depending on what type of tickets someone submitted. It'll send them a message, tell them try this, do this, and then even close out the ticket. So, of course, for us on the service desk, that would be wonderful.
I think that's the first question I ran across in all the stuff I was looking at was, what's the business case for this? Versus this is totally awesome and we should do it. There has to be that defined sense of this is what we're trying to accomplish. So doing service desk, yeah, absolutely, I can see that. You know, there's consistently 20 things that everybody calls and asks for. Like Darren said about the fact that, you know, can you reset my password or unlock my account, things like that, absolutely. But if it's just simply that case of, wow, this was awesome and we saw it and we want to do something different, it's really hard to implement something like that. So, and I have to give Darren a lot of kudos because you guys have taken, or at least in your case, you've taken, you know, a concept and just ramped it up in a lot of different areas. So,
I mean, and it started with one of our, you know, our city managers made some comment about, can we have some sort of automated chatting back and forth? And so I just started looking into it, and then it just snowballed from there. And what I found is that, like I said, our employees have taken to it a lot more than the public. So I mean, the public uses it, but I've been starting to program a lot more of it for our employees. You know, I'm building in little, you know, we have a checkout system for if you're going to borrow something important, you can text a chatbot, hey, I'm taking the master key, and it knows you have it. And then any other employee can say, hey, where's the master key? They'll say, oh, Darren has it. So little things like that, little mini programs that I'm building in there. You know, we're doing a photo contest that's starting next week. And so you can text chatbot, hey, I want to enter the photo contest. It'll come back, great, send us a photo. And when that photo gets sent in, it gets routed to our person in charge of that contest. So what I've found is a lot of the uses are more employee work related to make their jobs easier, because the public, they're not going to memorize the phone number. They're not always going to go that route. So I found using it to assist our employees to make their jobs easier, sort of something that that's where I'm going with it now.
Is that all on premise, or do you run that all out of like AWS or something?
Yeah, it's all on-prem. Sits on our little web server. So I've got another AI thing. Since there's a long pause, I was going to share something. I learned about some really cool AI recently. So have any of you guys ever heard of Amazon Kendra? Kendra, Kendra.
no,
So I just
hit up soon.
sat in on a little AWS webinar on this. So you go to Google, you type in a search, and you get your links, but you also get a little box where it actually tries to answer the question for you, right? Have you all seen that? It actually answers your question instead of giving you the links. So Google does that however the heck they do that. Well, Amazon, AWS does that now. So what they'll do is you give them, they basically put a crawler on your website, and they crawl the whole thing, PDFs included, OCR recognition, everything included. So when somebody then chats and writes a question, it will actually have gone through all of your website, found what the answer is, somehow figure out these are the phrases around that I need to get back, and gives back that answer, regardless of you having to program in all those questions and answers. So it's doing what Google is doing, where it doesn't just say, you know, what it was doing before was it would say, here's the page you need. Well, now it's saying, here's the answer. And it actually just spits out the answer. And it was beta for a while. I think they went live just recently. There's a company called CityBot out of Charleston. They're using it, and that's who I piggybacked on their webinar. But that Kendra, that's getting pretty up there. That's pretty cool.
That can be integrated right into the website.
It's just, yeah, it's from the way I understand it, it's just an API. So I'll have to give them access to my website. Well, not real secure. They just go in and crawl it. And then if there's any PDFs that are behind some sort of security, I'd have to give them those. But once they've crawled it, it's just an API for me. So if somebody asks my chatbot a question and I don't know the answer, I'll send an API request to Kendra, say, hey, do you know the answer? And and it just come back as some text. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah,
so I mean,
I just pulled it up here looking at it. So yeah,
it's pretty wild stuff. Haven't done it. I don't know that I will, but I'm looking into it, because you have to write a few things first. They don't write the crawler. The crawler is very something that they do a little bit different. They expect a dump of files in a variety of different ways, in Amazon buckets or in Drive or something. And so you would have to write a crawler that would export your files to a readable format and store it in an Amazon bucket, which, I mean, you can do. It's something that can happen, but it's work. But I'm only just learning about it.
I'd have to see if our website vendor would allow for that.
Well, the crawler, they don't need to allow for it. It's just a web crawler, just like the web Google crawls your site. You don't need permission to crawl a website.
Right.
But then, yeah, so like, but your document archive, well, I don't know. I don't know enough about it yet, but I just wanted to share the AI because I thought that was pretty cool.
Anybody else have anything for the AI in bot part? You guys are a really quiet group. You're killing me here. All right, I know you're all here for the biometrics. How many of you work for an agency that is that you're directly involved in the biometrics? So public safety, you know, sheriff, police, any of those? Okay, Matthew raised his hand.
We're not doing any biometrics, but we
Yeah.
support NDTs.
Yes, same here. We don't, no biometrics yet.
Is it an area that you guys are thinking about? The dual authentication is a big issue, and it comes up frequently in a security setting.
I want
Yeah.
to say the new CF33s have the fingerprint reader on them.
Yeah, I mean, some of the laptops, I think some of the Dells have had the fingerprint readers in the past. I don't think we've bought any that have that feature inactivated in a while.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Matthew, I have one. It's not activated.
Yeah.
The only authentication I have is password.
I mean, as far as two-factor, we've gone with like Duo for our second factor authentication, or YubiKeys in some other situations, which I guess is sort of biometric. You just have to touch the little LED panel to know that it's activated, but I wouldn't call it biometrics by any stretch of the imagination.
Anybody else?
Like I say, we've looked into some of it, and one of the main issues we faced was we're a Citrix shop and we use published desktop. So it's basically terminal sessions and multiple people on the same server. We've had a lot of issues interfacing with peripherals like that, even built-in ones. I know some of the newer things we're doing in our Citrix are going to supposedly overcome some of those things, that we may revisit looking at biometrics as an authentication in some of our areas. But that's just a challenge we face. Is it's not one to play well with our Citrix environment.
Are any of you guys doing facial recognition for any of your security for buildings or any of those things?
No, not yet. I think we looked into some stuff, automatic temperature taking things in COVID, and I think our Justice Center had something installed, but that's about it. Just to read people's temperatures, but not as far as unlocking doors or things, other than probably iPhones that have that facial recognition feature in them.
So what do you guys think about with iPhones? The fact that, you know, you've already got built-in facial recognition and fingerprints and things of that nature. There's a lot of legality that's involved in that, in terms of, can you have, you know, sheriff, any law enforcement come in and force you to unlock your phone? That's always one of those questions that's thrown out there from a security standpoint is, you know, how do you handle that? It's an ethical dilemma.
I don't know, like countywide, I guess with our device management, we could turn it off essentially for any county device as you could do on a personal device itself. But I don't think I'm using it right now. My phone is locked by a PIN code, so I think I'll probably stay with that. So they can't, you know, if somebody wanted to, I guess they could just point your picture at or point it at your face if they had it. But yeah, it seems to be kind of problematic at best.
So really, when people talk about biometrics, normally what we talk about is just what you said was fingerprints, face recognition, your iris, doing your palm, and DNA. But when I was looking at this, they actually have a whole lot of other ones, which interestingly were included your voice recognition. And I have a fairly distinct voice. I'm sure you've never heard anybody who talked like me. But it seems like it's extremely fallible. So sort of the question comes up when you talk about biometrics is, are these things that people are looking to use, are they fallible? Is there something you need to be worried about? Is there a security risk involved in it? And everybody's going to be really quiet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's inherent to any system that's designed. You know, that's basically, it's going to depend on the algorithms on the back end, how they're trained. I mean, I don't know if anybody saw the 60-minute piece a couple weeks ago on facial recognition that they use for investigative leads, and how, you know, you get the garbage in, garbage out, depending on how you're training the algorithms. That applies, it's going to apply to fingerprints, face prints, voice prints. You know, if you only train it with a small section of things, then anything outside of that training session that it's trying to learn, that's where the mistakes are going to get made. And that's just, I think that's part of the whole AI, you know, development cycle, is just, you got to train it, and you got to keep training the system. You can't just say it, you know, training it for, you know, a set of data that's small statistically compared to what you're trying to put it up against and saying it's done. I don't think you can ever say it's done. It's just too many little things in there that could trip it up along the way. That's
So
just kind of my opinion.
I had to get a new key made for my car, and I went to the dealership and they had an awesome bot that was super friendly, except it wouldn't let me tell it I didn't know what year my car was. And it would never let me pass that. So I'm pointing at Darren right now and I'm like, okay, Darren, how do you deal with those questions where the answer is very ambiguous? And this is where sort of AI gets involved, is how do you work around when you sort of have those weirdo things?
You know, it's you got to build into the logic where if you can't get past this step, no problem, we're going to continue, but we're just going to send you over here, and they may or may not be able to help you right away. You know, it's like, great, no problem, I understand you don't know that, and I'll put the data in. Somebody's just going to have to pick up the phone and call that person, but at least the conversation continued and they'll make contact. You know, it's just like calling up any store and pressing 0. They don't feel like giving the right answer, but they want to talk to somebody. So you just have to have the logic built to get past it.
Yeah, like a default out.
Yes, that's all.
They absolutely did not. The Verizon people don't, Spectrum doesn't. You know, the ones that I talk to regularly seem to not quite have that in place, where, you know, it takes me, you know, a good 10 minutes to get past that point of I need to talk to a real human, and I can't figure out what the words are to say I want to talk to a real human, because guess what? It won't let you type the words I want to talk to a real human in order to get to it.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's important for us on our side of the IT, when we're looking at those questions, is to take that step back, put ourselves in the user's perspective, because they're only going to answer about 5 questions. Once you hit the 5th question, you're done. They're going to basically go, I'm done, and close it out, and then get pissed off and call. Okay.
Yeah, are you keeping metrics like on that, on the one that you built? Like, do you know how long, where the quit point is, I guess?
Oh yeah, so I've got I mean, I got some really cool metrics on it, and actually I did build Skynet into it a little bit. It's too long to explain, but in a nutshell, you ask a question, it determines what the best answer is, gives it back. But if people ask questions that it doesn't know the answer to, it will eventually learn what the answer is. And that was actually really cool when I built that. And I can explain how it works. It's not too complex, but so that was really cool. But yeah, I keep metrics so I can see all the most common questions, all the most common questions that are not getting answered correctly. Time of day, employee, public, I got some really cool metrics, and that's why I started gearing a lot more of my stuff towards employees, because they're the ones that are really asking some questions about, you know, like for instance, if you ask jobs, if any job openings with us, gives it actually, I forgot, there's not really an integration, but it calls to NeoGov, the governmentjobs.com, and gives back the jobs. But if I recognize your phone number, I'm also going to give you the internal jobs. But yeah, you have to have those metrics because you have to know what questions are working and which ones are not. Yeah, you have to have that. But no, I built it all. I built all the metrics myself.
So I like the idea of the whole learning piece. Because
It was pretty cool.
off of you, where although you've got metrics and you're reading through what's there, you can see what it's learning, you know, like
Oh,
you said, and therefore the honors isn't on you. So when I was asking how many people are involved, it's absolutely astounding to me, Darren, that you were able to take this basically from ground up and have a fully functional, you know, method that's running, that is giving people information back in real time. And the fact that it's responsive to those types of questions, and you're not having to code everything and looking at the metrics and going, okay, let me
That's
write
right.
a new question every
It's
time.
slowly getting
Yeah.
totally automated. And then I've got, you know, if it thinks it knows the answer, but it's not sure, it puts all of those in a list for me where I can go in and see what they asked, what the bot was about to give, but didn't. And I could train it. So I can go click, 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 and train it, yes or no, that you were almost correct. And then now it'll give that correct. Yeah. So you're right. Yeah, you have to have some sort of, and like Matthew said, you have to have the metrics because you got to figure out what's working. I get, you know, I go through and I see a lot of people that are frustrated. You know, they'll ask questions and they're going to write, man, well, you were useless. Well, I find all of those, you know, because and I see what they were asking, and then I keep tweaking it and tweaking it. So the amount of time I spent on in the beginning was a lot, and now every month I don't go in there and tweak it now, but maybe only once every few weeks or month because it's learning.
So Darren, are you working to make yourself not relevant to this project?
No, because nonstop, some department is asking for some other feature to be added to do something like this. You know, the most recent one I did is I want to turn in a mileage form. Okay, where'd you go? When'd you go? When'd you come back? How many miles? Great. And then it comes up with a PDF, everything all filled in. So stuff like that is kind of neat. And so a lot of things like that I'm working on now.
So even though you have a bot, do you have the ability to, on the bot itself, actually choose categories, or have, you know, a page that people can choose something before they start, or is this truly a bot situation in which they're initiating contact by typing the information in, versus having an option to say, yeah, this is what I want? Or can you integrate that?
I missed the very beginning of what you said.
It was called the crazy part that I was asking.
No, yeah, the beginning of it.
What you were giving as an example where somebody might need, you know, to basically turn in mileage.
Yes.
Do you have that someplace else on the site, or, you know, a menu they could go to that would kick off the bot if there were questions or something of that nature?
No, kind of neat, but no, I don't. So like, for instance, the mileage one I'm working on, if that takes off and you know what, the finance department goes, you know what, this is great, let's do it only like this. Well, then, yeah, I'll probably on our website where you can go for employees only and download the mileage form, it'll say, click here and the bot will open up. But no, I haven't done any of that yet.
But it's something at least you're thinking about potentially in the future. Okay, never mind.
Actually, I have done it. So when we do bulk phone calls, our PIO wants to send a message out to everybody. Well, I coded it in the bot where if you just type in the name of the MP3 file, whatever the message is, or the phone, it'll go. So I have her through an interface, click, I want to send this message to this group of people. And then when she hits go, it actually opens up my chat bot, types in the commands and sends it. So if she just learns what those commands are, you wouldn't have to use the interface. So it's like a command line interface. So yeah, I'm sort of doing some of that. I've obviously talked way too much. I'm going to be quiet for the next 21 minutes, I think.
Please don't, because the reality is if you don't say anything, or Matthew doesn't, or Travis doesn't, then it's going to be me, okay? And I really don't want to listen to myself for that long, okay? Go back through my notes. I do have one more question for you, Darren. So with regards to, you know, the fact that people can send attachments, things of that nature, are there any concerns about legal responsibility for stuff that comes in for record retention? So if somebody sends in pictures or documents, anything of that nature?
Sort of. I mean, the goal, the rule of thumb, as I understand it, is if somebody's taken that photo because they're going to do something with that photo contest, it's up to them to keep it. They're the guardian of that record. If I pass something through to them, I don't believe. Shannon, of course, will answer that a whole lot better, but yeah, no. So I'm not doing anything with it. Now, with that being said, well, yeah, I track everything. I mean, everything that comes through, I'll have a SQL database of it coming in, and the file, you know, they don't ever go away. And so if that person asked me 3 years from now, hey, those photos that were sent in 3 years ago, do you have them? Well, I will, but it's up to them to maintain it.
Last question is, do you have anything built into it for someone who is approaching the bot for 911 call or, you know, like a CPS report, things of that nature?
We talked about that with our police department, and basically got as far away from it as we can. We do absolutely no emergency communication. Any sort of police question, if it's not something simple and it comes back with, you know, call 911, this is not what we do. No emergency communication here. Yeah, we don't do any of it. Don't touch it.
Yeah, that would be a huge liability.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be
We
surprised.
even, you know, I even talked about doing something for Crime Stoppers, and we may still do that, but we're a little hesitant, just because we want that stuff to go directly to the police department or to the officer that's in charge of it. So no emergency services type stuff yet. Except that I can tell you, police officers are the #1 users of, hey, can you unlock my account?
Yes, that's very true.
True story.
All right, guys, we've got 20 minutes, a little less than 20 minutes. What else is on your minds? There's been a whole lot of extremely quiet people. So either they're being extremely quiet and ignoring us, or they're actually doing something else.
I'll answer that question in the chat that you just said. So no, the question that I have for you guys is, you're here, you're interested in something on this. If you haven't figured out, I represent NCLGISA. I serve on the board. We struggle to come up with good topics or things to teach because all of you guys are here, but no one's really given us the feedback of here's what we want. We get a lot of broad topics, you know, network security, you know, ransomware. But you know what, if there's something particular in AI or chatbots or biometrics, let us know. I swear to you, we read every single one of those, and we need to know if that's something you want to hear more about. You know, I taught chatbots, I think 4 times. And there was a bunch of people in every class, but we stopped doing it just because nobody was really was mentioning it. Maybe we need to do it again, but maybe it's biometrics, or maybe it's, you know, mobile device management with biometrics, you know. So let us know. That's my question to you guys, but I'll be quiet again.
Aaron, can you make a chat box for that? That would be awesome.
I can, yeah, absolutely.
He's working on it now, guys.
Goldsboro is where I am, but CityBot is out of Charleston, the company that's, they're not using Kendra yet, but they're the ones that are looking into it. But I'm in Goldsboro.
So how many of you could have actually used a bot during the pandemic?
Ooh.
In all the various configurations you can think of.
That's kind of where I started thinking about needing to implement one. Was when the call center when we got the call center up and they had like, you know, 15 people in there answering phones, to maybe try to alleviate some of that. But it's more so around for us hurricane season out here on the coast would be to answer the, you know, the repetitive questions that always come in as soon as we, you know, do one of the emergency evacuations. And it's, where can I get the reentry permit? Where can I get this? And those are the, you know, that's what floods the call center, and they're, you know, constantly re-answering the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. So that's where I kind of started thinking about this, you know, putting one together with absolutely no idea of how to do it. But yeah, I think anything like that, it's where the repetitiveness is, can take a burden off of some of your users to, free up the phone lines to do something else. But then again, some people, when they're panicked like that, they just want to talk to a person, and it's, just psychology at that point, I guess.
We thought about doing something similar about, hey, is this street closed because of flooding in Goldsboro? And I talked to our police officers and fire department, and really it was just the public is so used to going to social media that we didn't do it for that. But they had approached me because that's what they were like, can't you write something? That I can. But there are certain things that people are so used to social media for that I don't know that a bot would be helpful or used.
Yeah, and Facebook, our PIO group is running Facebook pages and Twitter accounts and all the other stuff where people are actually, for the lack of a better term, glued to that because it's on their phone, they're getting the notifications, whereas, a bot would actually mean that they would have to pick it up and do something themselves other than getting just force-fed the information. So that's kind of an interesting dichotomy there.
So other than Goldsboro, which we're all going to go out and check out in just a little while and probably drive Darren insane.
Some of you already have, and it's looking at it. It does tell you jokes. You ask for a joke, you can ask for a dad joke. If you like The Office, ask it if it likes The Office, or tell me an Office joke. There's hundreds of quotes in there. It's a good time. That's actually the very first question I wrote. The very first thing was, do you like The Office? And it would give back a random Office quote. The very first question I programmed in.
So we're going to check that one out. But I do want to ask, are there any other bots, websites that you've been to that you feel like really have it, really are responsive to, you as a customer or, you as a citizen? Can you think of any? Because I already told you, local dealership for my car really sucked. Verizon and Spectrum are not real high up on my command list for people for their bots. They're not real helpful. But are there places that you've seen? Because as I like to tell my child, I'm like, honey, I program, but mostly that's just like going to other people and stealing or borrowing creatively. Okay. I like to see what other people do. So where else have you guys seen that you think really has it together?
The last one that I remember using that seemed pretty good was the ones for the go-to group, let's go-to meeting, go-to webinar, go-to whatever. We had signed up as part of our public comment during the pandemic to use them. And I ran into a number of issues just setting things up, and that's where I started the conversation with those, and they seemed pretty responsive to get to support, where I actually ended up on the phone with somebody. So I think that one did a fairly good job, but I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head.
I actually did have a good experience with Spectrum, and I went on and started chatting, something about modems not working, blah, blah, blah. They said, all right, well, we'll try to reset it for you. And they reset it and said, all right, just reset it. Is it working? And it worked. And so their bot, reset my whatever from their side. I mean, I was pleased.
We had an outage and they didn't tell me, and they told me to reset my modem. So that was not a great experience for me. Okay. They said, we'll send somebody out. And I went, no, you never come to our neighborhood. So the answer is no, you won't. Okay. So I'm not going to ask the places that you've had really crappy experiences, because that list could probably go on really long. But what else does anybody want to add to the conversation? Okay. It's 5:20 now.
To your point there about the bad experiences, I wonder if just as we're talking here, how much of that would be done on purpose to prevent certain things to getting to representatives, basically trying to force it through the bot so that doesn't actually end up in a representative's lap. I mean, is that there have been stories about programmers making decisions like that, the whole Volkswagen, bypassing the internals to read the you know, the sensor kind of stuff. But I mean, is that a conscious, do you think that's a conscious choice, or just, you know, the bot hasn't caught up yet? Like,
No, it's a conscious choice. I'm telling you, it was a conscious choice. Darren had mentioned the pressing 0 for the operator. I do think some of the ones I've gone to have purposely looped me multiple times.
yeah, the default out isn't a default out. It's a default back to the start. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't get you anywhere. So yeah, I wonder if that's like a conscious choice that somebody's making, or it's just that's the choice that the bot is, you know, making on its own because it doesn't know how to get from your point A to its point Z kind of thing. But I don't know. I'm not a deep programmer, so I really don't know the answer to that.
My advice when you're trying to use bots is like, you know, I mean, I write my bot, and people write a question like they would speak. I can't answer that because they're saying, oh, well, yeah, today, so I wanted to ask you about a question because I was trying to get a permit for something. I'm not going to be able, my bot's not going to answer that. But if they were to write, how do I get a permit, or where do I go to get a permit, or I'm asking about a permit, I'd be able to answer them. And I think that's what makes, you know, I'm not smart enough like Amazon or Google. I can't write a bot that's that good. But I think that would help from a user perspective is just try to use a terminology that they would understand and just use short phrases, even, well, a full sentence, but not a tirade, you know?
Yeah.
All right, anybody else? I've got one last thing I got to do before we leave, because we can run the clock down. Oh, Travis, what are you gonna say?
Oh, yeah. So to Darren's point there, like, how can you train or show the users as they're coming into your system to use those phrases and speak that way before they use it?
That's, I have not done this, but there's a Snatchbot does it. I know Amazon Lex does it. A lot of them do it where, and actually Pay It, who's going to be doing part of a presentation later. That's what they do is they prompt you. They pop up little chat bubbles that say, here are the most common 3 questions. Which one you want? Oh, you want to know about that category. When you click on it, 3 or 4 more chat bubbles pop up where they guiding you to which phrase they want you to ask. So you're really not chatting at all. You're really just clicking buttons that they're coming back with, but that's their way of giving you predefined answers or multiple choice essentially. So, you know, like, and what my bot does is it'll come back with, hey, try rephrasing it or use smaller sentences. But yeah, so that's what's common out there now is they're not even letting you free write. They'll say, here's the, you know, what we think you should ask, but that's how you do it.
Would you change the way that yours work, knowing how it's kind of evolved with that prompting now?
Yeah, I haven't done it yet, but it's one of those things where I just kept fighting it because I know I'm not going to go there, but yeah, I'll have to go there. And so I think I will, especially and really just on the web-based one. For the SMS would be a little tricky. But yeah, on the web-based, yeah, probably. Yeah, DMV bot's exactly what it is. Yeah, if you have to go on there, do a simple payment, like you just said, Tiffany, yep, it actually works really well.
It's tough when you're trying to ask a very specific question. So it does not handle, we were looking for my 16-year-old and needed to know the definition of a very specific document type. Yeah, that was out of its realm of ability.
Yeah.
So, you know, we started there and then we ended up calling and we're on hold for 45 minutes. So, you know, I started with the bot first. All right, so let me do the end of the session and you guys can keep chatting, but let me make sure I get this in. This is the second sponsor that we have, which is really super important for us to mention them. Make sure you stop by, visit them, do the deal. But it's Extreme Networks. They're one of the gold sponsors for this particular NCLGISA. And so this is their statement. Extreme Networks make connecting simple and easy with effortless networking experiences that enable all of us to advance how we live, work, and share. Extreme pushes the boundaries of technology by leveraging the powers of machine learning, artificial intelligence, analytics, and automation. With a culture of agility, we anticipate the needs of our clients and their end users as they develop. More than 50,000 customers globally trust Extreme's end-to-end cloud-driven networking solutions and rely on our top-rated services. So for those of us who are really interested in moving forward with AI and botting, definitely stop by. They might even be one of the vendors that Mr. Williams was referring to. Okay, if you guys want to continue talking for the next little while, you're welcome to. You guys can also be extremely quiet again. These are tough. Well, I really appreciate all you guys coming out. If you didn't learn anything, do a Google, go visit Darren's site. I'm sure that it'll tell you a really bad joke or a good one, depending on what you ask for. Okay.
See you guys.
Thank you.
See ya. Thank you.